Okay, so we're on part 3 of chapter 26. So we're looking at the twilight of an empire. So August 1991, Gorbachev is arrested by party conservatives because he's, talking about a free market economy, and that didn't really work for the old party leaders. So they went ahead and they arrested him. And Boris Yeltsin is going to be the new leader of the Soviet Union. But by December of 1991, the Soviet Union completely disappears and it's being replaced by this Commonwealth of independent states. So the Soviet Union ceases to exist, and now we have Russia. Now the new Russia is going to be led by Yeltsin. Gorbachev officially resigns December 25th, 1991. Now when you look at this new Russia, what we're looking at is from an empire to a nation. So the Soviet Union, it ceases to exist, and now we have Russia. So if you were a student at this time period, the maps were not correct at all, because you're making this transition. And when you make the breakdown of the Soviet Union, you're also seeing the breakdown of Eastern European countries as well. So there's some controversy over Yeltsin's commitment to a free market economy. He says that he wants a free market economy, but there's a lot of corruption in the government, and there's a lot of economic inequity in the system as well. And so what you're going to see is that October 1993, Yeltsin is going to order the military forces to storm the Parliament building. And when they storm the Parliament building, what you kind of see is a Russia that is so fragile, economically, socially, and politically, that it almost seems like Russia's not going to make it. So you've got economic inequality, and you've got a lot of corruption within your government. There's also a war in Chechnya. Chechnya was a country associated with the Soviet Union, and there's people in Chechnya that would like their own independence, kind of like Serbia did in World War I. They would like their own independence based on their nationality. So Yeltsin is going to actually put a lot of time and energy into keeping Chechnya. And they would like to go ahead, Russia would like to keep Chechnya because of resources within it. So it's going to drain the budget, and it exposes a lot of issues within the state. It exposes the fact that these former satellite states want their own independence. They do not want to be a part of this new Russian empire, this Commonwealth. In 1996, Yeltsin is going to be reelected. There are some questions about maybe whether he privatized things too fast. When we look at these questions on him privatizing things too fast, is that industrial production was down, unemployment was also up. And so you're not producing a whole lot, and a lot of people don't have jobs in Russia following the communist fall. And so we get these criminal gang capitalism, and what this means is that you really get kind of like the Russian mob almost running things, or you get a criminal element within your economy. So one of the comments that is made is, we know now that everything they told us about communism was false, and everything they told us about capitalism was true. The problem with Yeltsin, and the problem with what this transition is that they never really get the people to change the mentality. You have to change the mentality of the people to buy into this new system, this new government, this new free market economy. But it never happens, or at least it didn't happen here in '96. So you didn't get it. Yeltsin didn't complete it. And so people become very disillusioned with the government. So Vladimir Putin is going to be elected in 1999 to the president office for Russia. He is a former member of the KGB, which was the equivalent to the CIA here in the United States. And he promises to end government corruption. One of the big things that kind of unites people behind Putin is that NATO, and remember NATO is a democracy-only club, and it's a collective security, a military alliance. NATO is expanding into those Eastern European countries, those former satellite nations. They're trying to get people to join up with them. And NATO is particularly aggressive to Serbia. And there's some reasons why, like with ethnic cleansing and stuff that's going on in the area. So there's some issues with Putin. He would like to go ahead and make certain that NATO understands that that's not going to be tolerated. And a lot of Russians felt that way as well. Power is very centralized in Putin's era, and any critics are going to be silenced. So this is pretty similar to what Brezhnev and Stalin did, is that they silenced their critics. He does try to restore Russian international position, so he visits the United States, he visits Britain, he visits a lot of countries to try and reestablish Russia as a superpower. The Chechen War is going to continue, so in Chechnya there's still the war that was continuing during this time period. Russia, 1/3, is smaller than the Soviet Union. So the Soviet Union, with the breakdown of it, you lost those Eastern European satellite states, and when they lost those, Russia became a very, well, it's not small, but it became smaller. Living standards are also going to be on the decline. Marriages are down and divorces are up. So when you look at the Russian social system today, or you look at the Russian economy today, they have a pretty high unemployment still. There are more females in Russia than there are males. This is partly due to like alcoholism. There's a lot of abuse in Russia. So the social standards have kind of just declined. Eastern Europe, from Soviet satellites to the sovereign nations. So we're going to look at some countries that are going to get their independence. So Poland, it allowed free elections, and it allowed free elections in 1990. And remember, previously they had tried to do this in 1956, but Moscow stepped in under Khrushchev and stopped it. Now, under Gorbachev, because he had allowed Glasnost this opening of discussion, you don't see this. So this is kind of like one of these byproducts of it. So you don't have Moscow actually stepping in to stop these revolutions or these collapses of communism in these satellite states. So Poland becomes an independent nation. Hungary is going to do the same thing. So you're going to see a transition from that Stalinist kind of rule under Kadar, and you're going to see Hungary actually get free elections in 1990 as well. Czechoslovakia is going to be another country. So this chapter 77, what they are is they were just dissents. They were people who did not approve of the communist government. So they organized against the hardline communist government, because in Czechoslovakia it was a pretty oppressive communist rule. And so you're going to have a lot of massive demonstrations in 1989, and the government is going to collapse. So chapter 27 leader, they become the new lead of the government. And then we look at East Germany. East Germany is probably the most dramatic of the four as far as their break from the Soviet Union. What you're going to see here is that there's a massive demonstration against communism, and you're going to see refugees fleeing into the West. And because the Berlin Wall is still up, it's still a militarized zone at this point. But it doesn't seem to be a very effective one. There's all kinds of stories of people escaping. And so by 89, people realized that East and West Germany want to be together, or at least people want to be back together. So the Berlin Wall is torn down. And remember, Ronald Reagan gets credit for it. A non-communist government is going to be formed in 1990, and so eventually you'll get the unification, the reunification of Germany. So East and West Germany will be the Germany that you guys know today. Eastern Germany still is a little bit behind on some things versus West. I mean, there is a difference because, remember, they've been under a communist rule for a very long time. President George Bush is going to claim a new world order is established. So what he's really talking about is just the fact that you're having communism collapsing and democracy is replacing all these communist nations. So now we're going to look at China. So the East is red, China under communism. So new democracy. A socialist classless society, the long-term goal. That's Mao's long-term goal for his new democracy. But immediately, what he's going to do is he's going to do a variation of Lenin's new economic policy on capitalism. So he's going to use capitalist profits to spur productivity. And what that means is he's going to take things that he can make money with and try to get his economy up and running. There's going to be land reform for the peasants, but not necessarily collectivization like you saw under Stalin. The new democracy is relatively successful, but it is at the expense of the landlords and the rich farmers. What Mao and what all these communists want to do is they want to indoctrinate the youth, or indoctrinate the people into accepting that socialism is what they want. So you want to convince the people that this is exactly what they want. is often tried and convicted of crimes against the people, even though they're innocent. So if you opposed it too much, you typically would get arrested and you would have long prison sentences. And sometimes they would make you work so that you could remember all the sorrow you caused. That's just the way it goes. So the transition to socialism is a 5-year plan at first in 1953. Mao said of Stalin drained the pond to catch the fish. So Mao is not going to necessarily do the you have to follow this. Mao is going to be more about convincing people to go into this agricultural collectivization. There is some peasant opposition to it, so he's going to allow, just like Stalin, you can have your private garden. And the great leap forward is going to happen in 1958. The problem with the agricultural stuff, when you look at all this stuff going on, is that there's really not much incentive for people to work. You know, like, yeah, you need food, but if you're not getting paid anymore and you're not getting promoted anymore, it's the same thing with the Soviet Union. Why work that harder? So agricultural communes are going to be developed. So he tries to do this collectivization, but then he's going to go to the communes of 30,000 people. So hard work for a few years, happiness for 1,000. This is kind of this indoctrination. Unfortunately, the administration of the communes is kind of screwed up. There's bad weather, and some of the peasants are going to resist. It's kind of considered a disaster because as many as 15 million people died of starvation. So you try to collectivize it, and it didn't work because you had mismanagement and you had people not really buying into it. There's no work incentive. And one of the things that the commune tries to do is destroy the family unit. So communes were abandoned in 1960 and are returned to collective farms instead. So the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution, 1966 to 1976, it's a forced march to socialism. And when we say a forced march to socialism, it kind of is trying to force you, put you into a socialist mind frame. So Mao is going to authorize the formation of his Red Guards. And the Red Guards just comes from the youth, and they're party members of the Communist Party. Their purpose is to kind of get rid of the old fours. And the four olds would be old thought, old culture, old customs, and old habits. So to get rid of that. So drive out those taking the capitalist road. Destroy any of Mao's political rivals. And Mao really believed in an uninterrupted or permanent revolution. He thought that communism would always stay. And so Mao's Zedong thought is going to be the little red book, and this is just quotations from Mao. Is it similar to the French Revolution's reign of terror? You know, this is a question that history asks. The Red Guards are kind of like secret police, but they're not really secret. You know them. It's kind of like the brown shirts of Germany. You have these people out there. You have them indoctrinated into this belief system. Remember, we're looking at the French Revolution's reign of terror. You're looking at Robespierre going after people who the revolution was being fought for. It's kind of the same thing with Mao. I mean, he's going after people like the farmers who are resisting, but he's supposed to be going after the bourgeoisie, the ones who are trying to be capitalists. So eradicate the four olds: old thought, old culture, old customs, and old habits. So from Mao to Ding. So Mao's death in 1976 led to a brief secession struggle. Anytime one of these people die, you're going to have a struggle of who's going to take power next. So Ding is going to win, and when he comes in, he's going to do a cultural revolution, and it's going to kind of come to an end in the fact that what he wants to do is cause some modernization to occur. So we'll have four modernizations: industry, agriculture, technology, and national defense. So that cultural revolution that you kind of saw with Mao, with him doing the whole social, the breakdown of Confucianism, we're going to see something a little bit different under Ding. He's going to really try and get China to be a industrial strength. So those people that supported Mao, they're arrested. Even Mao's widow is arrested, and they're either they go to jail or they're going to die. I mean, they get a trial, but it's kind of one of these fake trials. Ding is what we consider a pragmatist. So he believes black cat, white cat, what does it matter so long as it catches the mice? Now I'm going to stop here and then we're going to move on to part 4. I think we're on 4.